They always tell you, how do you get started, right? First thing is you just have to shoot content. You have to shoot videos. You have to shoot content because without that, then you can't make videos, right? Once I got past that part, the next part was now you got to edit these videos. That is the hardest part. And then you have to post. If you don't post, you can't expect people to just start following you because they looked at your page and they're like, oh my gosh, look, you're not famous. You're not Kim Kardashian. People aren't just going to come to your page and follow you just because.
I just learned something cool about you too, in that you come from a family of how I like to say learned doctors, quoting one of my favorite movies. Um, so your dad's a physician and both your sisters as well as you. So are you all in orthopedics and sports med?
So my dad is a OB-GYN, so he delivers babies. And then my middle sister, the one closest to me in age, she's a family medicine doctor and is about to finish her residency. And then the last one, the baby, is a OB-GYN as well, and she's about to finish residency. So it's all four of us.
That's awesome. Your mom must be very proud.
She is very proud, and as we all like to say, it absolutely was not possible without her because it's definitely tough to be around people who are in medicine and just going through their trials and tribulations and everything that entails.
Yeah, it's a long journey. I mean, it's honestly, when you think about delayed gratification, it's probably one of the last standing things in our generation to where people actually have to work at something for super long in order to start doing that thing is becoming a doctor nowadays. You know, you think about everything else with technology, it's instant. And that is not something that is instant. It is something that you have to work really long and hard at.
That's the truth. My dad used to tell us all the time, like delayed gratification, and it's definitely something that's tough, but it's worth it at the end of the day. So.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the Healthy Careers Podcast. In 2024, we reached over 32,000 listeners and ranked in the top 15% of all podcasts. We're proud to have SharePro Health as a sponsor and are currently looking for 2 more partners in 2025. If you're looking to connect with healthcare leaders, providers, and innovators, we'd love to spread the word about your service, product, or business. Reach out to me, Maddie, for more details.
And what inspired you? I mean, I'm sure your dad being a doctor was part of it, but what inspired you to get into orthopedics and sports medicine?
Yeah, so people always used to ask me, did you always want to be a doctor? How'd you kind of land on all of that? And I knew two things growing up. That was sports. I played basketball, and then I knew like being a doctor because my dad was one. And so those are my two career paths that I wanted. Basketball obviously didn't pan out because I'm not 6'6". But once
Yeah.
I realized that basketball wasn't in my future, then I started kind of putting my head down and getting ready for med school and all those things. So, orthopedics and sports medicine, and more importantly, like primary care sports medicine, what I do, that's like the perfect mold of taking care of athletes from, top to bottom with everything that they have to deal with, and then also medicine. So it was kind of me in an ironic way looking back. It was like both of my passions kind of, integrating into one.
Yeah. And for the listeners, can you explain, because I think some people get confused about the difference between that of a primary care sports medicine physician and that of somebody that's maybe on the surgical realm of things. So can you just give a little bit of a background in terms of what you do day to day?
Yeah. So primary care sports medicine, the best way to think of it, as I tell everybody, is everything up until the point of actually needing surgery, a primary care sports medicine doctor can do. So, I'm sure people listening, yourself, myself, we've rolled our ankle, possibly hurt our hip, hurt our shoulder, whatever it may be. Well, in an ideal situation, you go to orthopedic clinic and you're going to see a doctor. Well, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to need surgery. I mean, you just need somebody to take a look at you, let you know what's going on, and you probably need to do some rehab to some extent. And so that's 99% of my clinic is seeing those athletes or weekend warriors, or even just people who went on a vacation and rolled their ankle and things like that. And so those are typically the patients I see. I do a ton of injections. So steroid injections, PRP injections, hyaluronic acid, kind of all the things that start hearing a lot of people talking about nowadays with regards to arthritis and injuries. And then concussions. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And coming out of a pandemic a couple years ago, COVID, so managing athletes and what does that look like? We technically, as primary care sports medicine doctors, we have the ability to kind of manage everything from head to toe whether it be a musculoskeletal injury or even if it's just like your athlete's sick and has a cold or something like that. So I always tell people orthopedic surgeons' ideal clinic is where they're seeing preoperative visits, postoperative visits, and then they get to operate the rest of the time. They would rather not have to see the random ankle sprain and that's never going to need surgery and things like that. Because while they like taking care of patients, it doesn't ultimately lead to a surgery. So that's where we fell in. And it's fun because, you know, the ideal situation, as I tell everybody, is nowadays every orthopedic clinic is looking for 1 to 2 primary care sports medicine doctors. And they kind of treat it as like a Monday through Friday urgent care where, you know, you injured yourself, you need to get in and see a doctor. They come in and see us relatively quickly. We work them up, see if it's something that needs surgery. And if it is, then you can kind of dish it out like a quarterback to this, you know, the specialist that actually can do it. So it's definitely something that one of the reasons why I'm actually kind of built my following on social media, because when I was in med school, I had no idea about primary care sports.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a growing field where I have a lot more medical students who are super, super interested in it now. So